Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Benchwarmer Sorts podcast. I'm assuming Davian is drinking a cup of Tom Brady tears. I'm hoping, but I
Says in Brady we trust.
no, that's terrible. I need a
Yeah.
Tom Brady tears cup or something. That would be great. If you guys, I mean, my birthday was like a week ago, but if we're still doing this in 51 weeks, which I hope we are, I'm expecting a Tom Brady tears mug or a best boss mug as well. But anyways, it's been a bit. We have been recording episodes. We have been. We've been having some technical difficulties, though. But you know what? This one we're excited is finally going to be back, and you guys will know that it's back because you guys will be watching on YouTube right now. Once again, if you have forgotten, I'm Raffi, host. Hello, it's nice to see you guys. Joined by Davian and Theodore. You guys, I'm sure you guys remember him. Both of them, honestly.
How could you
Boys,
forget either of us?
Yeah.
with those looks, I have no clue. I mean, Theodore, you've seen a ton of them. If you follow us on TikTok, Benchwarmer_sports, I'm sure you saw Theodore quite a number of times, or as we like to say now on the podcast, Theodore. So, boys, how are we doing today? It's good to be back.
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad my Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely dominated the draft, including fleecing the Knicks on a big trade. It's been a good run for me and my teams.
I'm doing well. A bit upset about Gronk retiring. I mean, that guy has so much character and whatnot. See him retire. I felt like, I felt after Brady left the Patriots, nothing else could get worse for me when it comes to sports. So seeing Gronk retire was like, that sucks, but it is what it is. But other than that, been doing pretty well. Glad to be back. Glad to be, really doing this. A bit confused with the Knicks OKC trade, but I think the Knicks will come out on top. It's all about looking to the future, not the past, and not with some random guy, Jalen Duren.
Well, the Knicks don't really have a pass, so you don't really have too much to.
Hey, what do you mean?
Or
We
a
got a
future.
pass, Patrick Ewing and
That
whatnot.
was
That was a pass.
All those
That was
rings he won
all
a
those
very
with
NBA
Ewing
nice
in the
championships
90s.
you guys
fun
got
period of
back in
time.
like the 80s.
Yeah. All those times you took down Jordan and the Bulls. Yeah, how could you forget that history?
I mean, Pepper Ridge Farm might remember, but I certainly don't. I'm not that old. Let's hop into the story that was going to be the big story, but luckily, as we are recording this, 6 p.m. Central Time on Monday. Yes, today's Monday. Kyrie Irving takes, I believe, it was the player option. Jump in if I'm wrong. Theodore, let me know. This is gonna be a big segment, but now things have changed. Theodore, what does this mean going forward with the Brooklyn Nets, at least for this upcoming season?
Well, it means that all the speculation everyone's been doing on Kyrie and Kevin Durant and where they're going and what's going to happen is all completely dead. Kyrie and Kevin Durant are going to be suiting up for the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe Ben Simmons will be suiting up along with them. We don't know. But regardless, some iteration of this current Brooklyn Nets will be playing, and we won't be having these huge trades like we thought we would.
Absolutely, that was a big talk for the past few days. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff with the Lakers. I don't know why people are saying that. There's a reason why LeBron and Kyrie separated. I don't think they're going to come back together. But there's all this chatter, all this stuff going on, and unfortunately, we're not going to have it. We'll get into NBA free agency and the NBA draft in a little bit, but by the looks of it, Kyrie Irving deciding to go back to the Nets is definitely taking down the excitement level of the NBA offseason down a couple notches. Another point of topic before we hop into the main meat of the show. We are currently on the bread, lettuce, tomato part of the sandwich. We're about to get into that great meat part. But I did want to talk about the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Colorado Avalanche last night finished off Tampa Bay Lightning 2-1. Cale Makar is your playoff MVP. I think Cale Makar, I'll post a video about this on TikTok for sure. But Cale Makar is honestly, he might be the second best player in the NHL behind Connor McDavid. And I don't think it's a very hot take. I think you go right now it's McDavid, Makar, and then you can get into maybe McKinnon, maybe Crosby, maybe like Kaprizov, Ovechkin. So, but I think Cale Makar he's 23 years old and he's won Rookie of the Year. He's won Defenseman of the Year, which he just won. Then he Stanley Cup champion, Stanley Cup MVP for the playoffs. I mean, this guy's only 23. He's played now 3 seasons. This guy's going to be really good. Theodore, I know Davian didn't really watch too much of the finals, which is understandable because the Rangers were out. So I do respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Theodore, did you watch any games? What were your kind of takeaways?
Okay, so here's the problem we had here. Game 1, I watched. It was an incredible game. Thoroughly entertained. Game 2, I tried to watch 7-0. Like, come on.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, that last game was a blowout. There's no way I'm sitting through Game 3. And yeah, I was right. It was another blowout. So then I'm like, okay, I'm not
To
sitting
be
through
fair,
Game 4.
well, I'm going to cut you off. To be fair, Game 3 was 3-2 at one point. So it was at least closer a little bit, but continue on.
Yeah. So I didn't watch Game 4 because Game 3 was a blowout. And then I didn't watch Game 5 because it was a 3-1 series. So then I finally sat down yesterday, watched Game 6. It was a good game. I thought overall these playoffs were great. And let me say, actually, Dave, Raffi, because one big point of contention with all of us was how are these games ratings do? From what I saw, these were the most watched Stanley Cup finals in years, which you hit the nail on the head saying that people would want to watch these two great teams. Overall, I think this Colorado Avalanche, great team. I predicted them to lose early. I was way off there, but great team, and maybe they'll launch a dynasty of their own after Tampa fell us short.
Absolutely, and I think that's a key part that you mentioned. I always like being proven right, and I'm glad you mentioned that as well, that the ratings were really
It happens so
affected that.
rarely that we
Yeah.
have to give you credit when it does.
And at the end of the day, too, I know we mentioned the market conversation, which is a very good. I'm very glad you guys mentioned that when we spoke last time, which you guys can't see if you're listening because. But anyways, the Colorado Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning were, I believe, the two top teams betting wise to win the Stanley Cup early before the season started. And it's very rare because the NHL is such a chaotic. The playoffs are chaos, like March Madness kind of chaos, where you don't really know who's going to show up. So seeing truly the two best teams and two great storylines in the Stanley Cup final. Nathan McKinnon goes through so much heartbreak. Finally in the Cup Finals, Tampa Bay, they're a dynasty, but winning the third is officially a dynasty. It's a great storyline. They had all the pieces set in stone. If I was ESPN at the start of the year or TNT, I would be saying, I want this to be the matchup. I know a lot of people say they don't root for certain matchups and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, if you want to maximize the amount of money you're going to make in your first year of this TV deal, you are going to want the Tampa Bay Lightning and Colorado Avalanche. And aside from Game 2, which to be fair was a blowout, Game 1, 4, 5, and 6, 4 of the 6 games, 2/3, quick math, were 1-goal games. 2 of them went to overtime. So I don't really think you could have asked for any less or any more from this series. I think it was probably the tightest series that I've watched since maybe like 2015, honestly.
And definitely better than the NBA Finals overall.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congrats to the Warriors, by the way.
100%.
Didn't even bother bringing
Absolutely.
that up.
Warriors took it home. We can mention that as well. But I do want to swing into our next topic, which is the NBA draft. It always feels like this is so chaotic. And honestly, I went into the NBA draft feeling pretty comfortable with all the names that I knew from college basketball, only to have a guy by the name of Marjan Beauchamp getting taken in the first round, who I still don't know who he is, and I'm still convinced it's just a made-up name, a made-up person. But you know what? A lot of people said that about Giannis Antetokounmpo. So just watch Beauchamp be one of the greatest NBA players of all time. Now, Theodore, Davian, your teams are very active at the NBA draft, also coordinating a trade as well. Theodore, you seem more positive in the pre-show meeting. I just want to hear your thoughts on the trade right now, and then we'll hop over to Davian.
Well, first of all, the pre-trade is the biggest aspect of the draft by far. Chet Holmgren to the Thunder, absolutely incredible. I couldn't be happier with the pick. But after that, this trade is interesting because the picks that the Thunder send the Knicks, it was 3 first-rounders for a guy by the name of Ousmane Dieng. Now, this guy is completely irrelevant right now. Nobody knows who he is, but he's 18 years old, potential through the roof. But the picks that the Thunder gave to the Knicks were actually picks that we received last year on draft day. Right. We traded a pick to the Rockets that became Alperen Sengun, who's a solid player. But these picks, the 2 of them, one belongs to the Pistons, one belongs to the Washington Wizards. The protections on these picks are absolutely insane. Like, we're talking top 16 protected 1 year. Then in 2024, top 14 protected. Then top 12. Then top 10. then top 8 protected, and if it falls, like if the pick never transfers, it just becomes nothing. Like you literally will not get anything good out of any of these picks. Like the best option is pick number 9, 7 years down the line. And the same goes for all of those picks. They're all crazy protections and most likely, I'm not even going to say anything because it's so hard to predict how something like that will happen. OKC gets a potential superstar for basically for free, especially when you have 25 other picks in the future.
Davian, your thoughts?
All right. I saw a European get drafted. My first thoughts, no. Why are we doing this again? This is Phil Jackson era type beat stuff, okay? This is Frank Nilinka, Kristaps Porzingis, which Kristaps Porzingis will forever have my heart.
To be fair, looking back at that 2015 draft, that was one of the better picks.
That's like the only
the
good
Kings
pick they
had
made.
like I think the Kings and the T-Wolves had like 3 first-round picks that year, and every single one of them just was terrible. They all were busts. But continue.
Well, that was actually Cat for the Kings. That's the one good pick they made.
Right.
But
aside from that,
I remember the reaction when he was drafted. It was wild.
Yeah. So one thing, Frank Nilinka, I mean, the guy was basically, I guess you could say he's a bust. I don't know. He's finding his footing on the Mavs. Whatever. Point is that I was not impressed. Then all of a sudden I hear it's a trade. And then I don't understand this trade till the next morning. Okay, I'm up till like 12 a.m. with my boys. We were watching the Yankees game at the time. That was a walk off.
Okay, we'll talk about the Yankees
by Aaron Judge, but whatever. That was pretty exciting to watch. But I'm like, we're all looking at our phones. We're like, what does this mean? And we have some like big basketball gurus in the room, and none of us knew really. So I wake up the next morning. I start looking through it. It's not bad. Okay, like as an OKC fan, I would be a bit more impressed in this side that like, oh look, I'm just giving up like 3 picks that weren't even mine that I got last year. And now I get this young stud who I also don't know who he is, but it is what it is. From the Knicks standpoint, we gave up like 4 second-round picks, which is a lot. I mean, second-round picks don't always. I mean, compared to like the NFL draft, where late-round picks like turn into something like really really good players, I feel that you don't really see that as often in the NBA. If that makes sense, right? So I feel like 4 is still a lot because I believe that every draft pick has some certain value. So, and then at the end of the day,
I actually believe the second rounders you guys gave up were in the other trade you made.
Yeah, we had so many trades that night. I was
right. Like so much happened.
Like I know that we got 3 first-round picks from OKC and from this trade, and then we had like a different trade which I was completely confused with. Which I mean, we could talk about that as well, but in this trade specifically, I think that the winner we'll be able to declare the winner in like starting the beginning of the year. If this OKC player, the dying, I don't know. I apologize. If he really starts balling off, then sure, OKC's the winner. They get short term. They took the short term route. They get a player, and now the Knicks need to wait till the 2020 draft.
The kid's 19, and you're talking about short term. Come on, look. None of the picks that you're getting in this trade are going to put you in a position to draft a kid anywhere near as good as this guy.
Let's be honest though, this draft class kind of sucked.
It was very top heavy.
This is a man. Sorry, Raffi. This is a man that I've been following for over a year now because I've been just going crazy scouting this draft. I am fully convinced that this is a future All-Star. There are a few guys that really jumped out at me. He's one of them. Ivy's another. Chet's the third. Paolo's up there. But I'm so sold on this kid and his potential. So the fact that we got him for nothing and picks that the Knicks will either waste on bad prospects or ideally, I'm sure for you, trade. I could not be happier.
It's just madness, pure madness with the NBA. There's so many trades. I think Davian was alluding to the trade that gave the Hornets Jalen Duren.
That one made no sense.
Who went to the Pistons now, I think. So I do want to talk about the Pistons real quick. I think they had a really good draft getting Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. I think they're really set with Cade Cunningham as well, who was really good. this past season. So I'll keep it short because if I keep going on, I'm going to definitely slip up somewhere and prove that I don't know anything about this. But I do think the Pistons are building a really nice young core right now, and we'll see what happens in the future.
I'll agree with that, yeah.
I'm so excited to watch Cade and Jaden Ivey run the guard lineup because they're both studs, two guys that I'm really high on, and the team's really filling themselves out with some nice pieces. And if they can add a third guy in free agency, which I'm sure we'll get to next, they really are set not just for the long term, but possibly to even compete for a playoff spot this year, which for Detroit is a huge deal.
Absolutely. I think the arrow's pointing up in Detroit, which you can't really say too often about just being in Detroit in general. Before we shift into the NBA free agency talk, Theodore, I did want to pitch this over to you because for NHL in general, one of my favorite players, Alex DeBrincat, was likely going to go pretty early in the first round, likely a top 15-ish pick. But due to him being, I believe, 5'7", which is shorter than me, so he's kind of a midget, he fell very far to the draft, fell to the early second round, pick 38. Am I kind of using the same critique, because Alex DeBrincat was he's too short, he's just too small? Am I making a bad case saying Chet Holmgren might not be a good guy because he's too skinny? I know Kevin Durant's pretty skinny, but I just want to I just have this perception where I feel like I'm an NHL GM saying, "Oh, Alex DeBrincat's too short. He's not going to become anything," even though he has that talent.
No, so it's a different debate because height is something that there's no control over. Like Isaiah Thomas, for example, who was so fun to watch in Boston, but before that, he was the 60th, the final pick, like Mr. Irrelevant in the NBA, because he was only 5'9". Chet Holmgren's different because weight, metabolism and all that, but you can control your weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder for some guys than others, but he can, be hitting the gym and putting on muscle, which I'm sure he'll do. Look at Giannis's draft day photos. The man was a twig, and now, he's Giannis. Right. He's just this huge guy. Chet is the talent is incredible. He can shoot the three. He is such a great shot blocker, even at his height, or even at his weight, rather. I just think that if he doesn't put on weight, he'll still be a very good scorer. If he does, he has future defensive player of the year written all over him.
All right.
There's some bust potential, whereas a guy like Paolo Banchero feels like, okay, this guy's for sure going to be a good NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
But Chet is one of the highest upside players I've seen, probably since Zion, and before that, you have to go all the way back to AD, if you ask me.
Yeah, because it's just interesting to me. I guess I'm just one of those people as well where I if you're winning, like Draymond Green, for example, talks a ton of smack, but I mean, the dude's always winning, and
yep.
I mean, he has the right to talk smack. Seeing someone like Chet Holmgren kind of talking a little smack, dissing a little bit, I personally I'm not a fan of it. That gives me vibes. So that I respect shooting your shot and kind of just being that guy, but I also players who are very vocal about that, I feel tend to also have that potential to bust or fall out. Obviously, Chet Holmgren just got drafted. We're not going to know whether or not this is a good pick or not for many years in the future. And hey, if he's not that good, the Thunder still have 30,000 more stabs.
No shortage of
at the thing. So they have so many options. Before we enter NBA free agency, because that's going to be pretty short as a whole, because as I mentioned earlier, there's not too much to talk about, unfortunately. I do want to talk about the World Cup and have a bit of a rant. The announcements for the stadiums were officially announced. New York's got it, LA's got it, a bunch of cities. Kansas City got it. That's where I'm going to be going in 2026. Already decided, ready to book a hotel whenever I find out what games are going to be there. I'm so annoyed that Chicago didn't put a bid. That drives me nuts that they couldn't pull that off. And now the whole Qatar thing is just terrible as well. But I want to hear your thoughts. Do you guys plan on going to any World Cup matches? Because I know you guys are very close to New York City, and I'm sure you guys would be interested potentially.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll be a broke college student in 2026, but I will make sure that I'm at this at least one game, hopefully as many as possible, no matter what. It's the World Cup, and to be able to go without traveling halfway across the world is incredible. It's one of my favorite things to watch every time it's on. So I'll absolutely be a game.
Notice how all these cities in Canada, Mexico, and the United States, all the cities have proper infrastructure that doesn't need to be built. They have already stadium-sized capacities that can fit all these fans, and they
So
need to do
wow,
all this nonsense in Qatar where it's over
so
100
you're
degrees in
not
the
going to need
summer.
to kill 2 people per day to build the stadiums. You're saying?
I don't believe that's going to be the case in Mexico, United States, and in Canada. I think they have stadiums already, so I
Wow.
think we'll be fine with that. And I don't think many people are going to get taxed about this. I mean, we're all going to get taxed for everything, but I don't
They'll
think that's
find a way to
too
bump them
crazy.
up.
It's not going to be that crazy. So that's a whole nother story for another day. Davian, I just want to know, you're going to be also close to New York. You're in that area, obviously pending college, which
I'm gonna try working there. Like I'm gonna try working at MetLife Stadium so I could watch that final. Like
That would be incredible.
I think the
I'll
final.
take a janitor work, bro. I'll clean the toilets if you want me to. If I can just be in that stadium during the finals, I'll do it. Uh, Super excited about it. One thing I don't like is that okay. So I understand why one of the stadiums chosen was Mexico City because it's like I guess you could say it's the capital of soccer in the Western Hemisphere. Yada yada. Whatever. Point is that it's a mile high. It's like higher than Denver, I believe, when it comes to its altitude. And that I feel like I don't really like that because it changes up the game so much. I mean, I know it does a lot in football, not so much. I don't know how much it really changes in soccer as much, but still, I'm not a big fan of that. But that's my only.
Raffi, as the science guy, you should have some info for us here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I actually do have a little bit of a fun fact. So apparently, according to John Cooper, head coach of Tampa Bay Lightning, he didn't feel the altitude going up to Colorado in Game 1, and he said it was pretty normal. But Game 2, he said that his team was definitely suffering from some altitude stuff. So I do believe that this is like an actual thing that players need to just be aware of. I think the more you go, the more you get used to it. But I think that's definitely, if Mexico winds up playing games in Mexico City, I think that does give a slight advantage to Mexico if they're playing there. And I do also, I'm gonna just kill it while the hope is very low, Davian. But I have a good feeling that the Cronkies are gonna get that final matchup in SoFi Stadium in 2026. I also did want to mention
Man, I really hope not.
the 2026 World Cup is going to be expanding to 48 teams. And
Right.
Really?
personally,
Massive,
I
yeah.
think that's a bad idea. I
That's
don't like it because we're going to wind up because they're adding a few teams from Europe, but the way it works is they're adding more teams in Africa, adding more teams in Asia, all those. But like Asia doesn't have many competitive countries.
maybe we'll
Africa
get
has
to
some
see
borderline
North
teams.
Korea.
I like that they're adding still to South America, but you're adding Australia, New Zealand are essentially clinches now. And I don't know. I just feel like there's more teams now that are just going to be easy knockouts. I think that's what they did now. I understand expanding it for more people. I might just be a little annoyed that Armenia is still in Europe for some reason, even though we're in the Middle East and we should be in Asia, so we can actually qualify for once. But
I
Yeah.
have to disagree with you here, Raffi. 48 teams, you can say it's a lot. It's just so exciting to have your nation in the World Cup. Like when 2014 World Cup, I'm Greek. I got to see Greece not only make it, but make a surprise run into the first knockout stage.
mm-hmm.
Like it's just, I don't know, the feeling of excitement having your nation in there is so much. And think about how many people out in a nation like Thailand, for example, maybe where
Thailand's
you've
not.
added Asian.
If Thailand makes the 2026 World Cup, and this podcast is still going on and it's big, oh boy, there's going to be some crazy thing that I will do if Thailand makes the World Cup in 2026. That is on the
Okay.
record. You guys, we need to get this
Okay.
podcast uploaded.
Yeah,
There's
we'll keep this on
no
record.
way in the world Thailand's making the World Cup in 2026.
I'm pulling for you, Thailand.
Yeah, and we're all
Not
cheering for you
happening.
now, Thailand.
But now there's going to be 8 teams in Asia, and I don't know. Well, I'll break down more stuff as we get closer and closer to the 2022 and 2026 World Cup. Because honestly, love March Madness, love the Stanley Cup playoffs, but this is one of my favorite things.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. It might make the group stage a bit more boring, but at least the knockoff stage will be a bit more exciting. You'll have, some like underdog Cinderella teams,
Yeah.
See, but the thing is too is normally we have our groups of death as well. I remember a few years ago, I believe it was like Argentina. It's always fun to have 3 really good teams in a 4
Yeah,
team,
I remember.
and you just
That
have
happened.
teams just fighting to the death. we're not going to really get that in 2026, which is a little disappointing. But as you guys mentioned, at the end of the day, maybe there's an underdog team that puts up a really good fight. I know Iceland in the Euro in 2018.
That was crazy.
2016.
Yeah.
Iceland's run, I believe it was to the final in 2016, or at least to the semis. That was a great under the radar
One
story.
of the coolest things I've watched.
So,
Yeah.
who knows? You never know with the World Cup. But one thing that we can always bank on is corruption. I don't really like to speak out too much about stuff, but I will definitely speak out against the World Cup and the Olympics. Before we close the show, though, I do want to talk a little bit about NBA free agency. We're hearing Zach LaVine is likely leaning towards coming back to Chicago. That's kind of the general consensus from speaking to players and speaking to general people. So that's likely going to happen. There's a lot of talk of Bradley Beal that he's going to re-sign with the Washington Wizards. But I do want to get into some of the guys like DeAndre Ayton and Miles Bridges. Do you guys think that they're going to get offers from other places? Theodore, I think it's Davian. The Knicks are looking to go after Jalen Brunson.
It's a walk. It's a walk. I mean, if it's not a walk, it's sad. Because, like, we've done so much to get this guy. Trading, signing his dad onto our team to be part of, I don't know what his role is, but
Illusion.
his dad is on the team. Like, we've done everything to get this guy. We've traded Kemba Walker to open up more cap space to sign him. We've done so much to get him. It would be really sad to see this fall through. The one thing that I do want to see the Knicks actually also go for potentially is DeAndre Ayton. Yes, we have two really solid, like, young bigs in Obi Toppin and Mitchell Robinson, who I think are going to go off next year. But if we could add DeAndre Ayton, we could truly change our team to be, like, really a playoff contender, I feel like. But as far as DeAndre Ayton sweepstakes, I think he's going to go somewhere, like a team where he has more of a role in. I think he's not really looking to, chase a ring. He already has that. So now he's just really looking forth to solidifying his name, getting that fame that he deserves as being the number one pick in the draft.
Theodore, I want to pitch this over to you as we talked a little bit in the pre-show about how restricted free agency works. It's different than in the NHL, and I have a pretty good grasp on it. So you did mention that because the Suns have bird rights, they can match any offer for DeAndre Ayton. I do want to know, though, if a team, let's just say the Knicks, were to offer DeAndre Ayton a max deal, the Suns would still be able to match it if they wanted to and sign him. How would that work for the Suns? Would they be able to do it? Would they lose out on other players with this happening?
So it's such an interesting scenario because the Suns are, the Suns, it's rare that you have a team with an elite restricted free agent who's also a serious contender. If you think about it, to be an elite restricted free agent, odds are you were a top pick. That's here DeAndre Ayton, Trae Young, who's already extended, and Luka, who's already extended, and other guys like Shea, who's not even on a contender, but also is locked up.
Mm-hmm.
So the Suns are way over the salary cap with guys like Chris Paul and Devin Booker eat up like $70 million alone. There's no chance they'll ever get under the salary cap to the point where they'll be able to sign another guy. So DeAndre Ayton is the biggest player they'll ever be able to sign for the foreseeable future. Now the question is, and the debate that's going on around the league and in the Suns organization is Ayton the guy? That he struggled at times in the playoffs. There are a lot of concerns within the team. And that's why people think the Suns might not match the contract. Whereas the Hornets, for example, are absolutely matching any offer they get from Miles Bridges.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like there's no chance this guy's going to be allowed to walk. Ayton, the Suns might just decide, and it's also the owner, like he might decide, I don't want to be investing this kind of money into this player because the owners obviously pay the contracts. So I'm just not sure that they'll allow him to walk because he will get a max offer, whether it's from the Knicks, who, Davian, I'm not gonna lie, I don't see it happening because of Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, I don't really see it happening, but it would be pretty cool to see. But I really doubt it.
Yeah, it would be a better signing than Jalen Brunson. The man averages like 16 points per game, and you're going to give him $25 million a year. That's ridiculous.
I know. I mean, we already gave Evan Fournier and Kemba a lot of money. So what does this do? Giving.
Next thing, the Knicks signed the Benchwarmer Sports podcast for $3 million for the next 2 years.
That would be a steal right there.
Absolutely. But I do I just want to pitch this out as well before we close the show. Do you guys think that the way restricted free agency works and restricted free agents work in the NBA, do you think that should be changed to where if a player is offered like DeAndre Ayton, because the NHL is like compensation, like picks and stuff, do you think something like that should be implemented in the NBA?
No.
Do you think it's just how it is? Because I don't know, it just is the hockey fan in me. The fact that a guy like DeAndre Ayton can just be pried from another team for nothing. Do you think the Suns look to trade him, or do teams just know that it's not?
So it's not being pried from another team though, Raffi, because it's the Suns' choice if they let him walk or not. The other big thing here is sign and trades. So oftentimes, like, and this happened a couple years ago, notably with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was a restricted free agent. He decided that he wanted to go to the Nets, but the Warriors were able to match. So obviously, it's an awkward situation if you force a player to play with you. So the Warriors decided, okay, we'll match the deal, but immediately send you over to Brooklyn. And in return, they were able to get D'Angelo Russell, which they turned into Andrew Wiggins, which was a key reason that they won the championship.
Do you think the Suns look to do that? They match it? Oh no,
I think they do. I think they absolutely do, because the Thunder are in a position to give up multiple picks, like maybe two first-round picks plus a guy like Kenrich Williams, who's a pretty valuable veteran piece for a team like the Suns. Whereas the Knicks can give up a guy like Mitchell Robinson, so the Suns still are able to hang on to a starting center.
Okay. So
OKC has to extend Lou Dort. If they don't do that, I'm going to be very mad.
We absolutely need to. I am so adamant about this. You don't want to get me on a Lou Dort rant. I will literally defend this. There's always that meme where like, oh, what NBA player are you writing like an essay to defend? Lou Dort is that guy. I will never stop defending Lou Dort and Russell Westbrook. Please extend the man, Sam Presti.
Absolutely. And if you want to watch a short video of Theodore doing a little Lou Dort rant, that is up on our TikTok, Benchwarmer_sports.
It's also a Daniel Jones rant up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's it's doing really well. So you guys are going to want to check that out. It went a little viral. So he's not just nodding his head now. He's actually opening his mouth a little bit too. So you're going to want to follow us on TikTok. We are now at 60 followers, which we are on record-breaking growth right now.
Pace.
But, yes, that's in our word. That's in our synonym for rate. But once again, that's gonna be it for this episode of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you're listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube, and you can check us out on Spotify. Follow us on TikTok, as I mentioned. Make sure to keep up with everything Benchwarmer Sports, and we will talk to you guys in the immediate future. And we're just excited to be back. All right.
Peace.